All right, it's 5:30 p.m. Call to order the Sustainability Commission of Indio. Will you do a roll call, Sarah?
Chair Chris,
Present.
Vice Chair Getka, Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Jimenez, absent.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. There is nobody present for public comment, so we'll go ahead and move on to the minutes of September. If we can review the minutes and then take a motion whenever someone is ready. So Sarah, while the commissioners look at that, we're going to have a issue, being that I was absent last month, and I must abstain. Thank you. We'll still review in case anybody has any questions or corrections. Commissioners, any corrections or questions about last month's minutes?
It looks fine to me.
Very well. We'll bring it back next month. Thank you, Sarah. Discussion items?
Thank you. We're going to start with the Coachella Valley Association of Governments Regional Comprehensive Climate Action Plan and with an update on that. Just a little background. This is a CVAG project, of course, and they received a grant to complete a comprehensive climate action plan, which it has several goals and requires a lot of input. And just for what it'll do, since it's comprehensive and it's regional, it is for all the cities in the valley are included in this. We all have input. We all have specific information and greenhouse gas updates that we do for the city itself, for the cities themselves. And this is all funded, as I said, through CVAG and the grant they received. They're going to be focusing on buildings and home, transportation, waste, and agriculture. That was ultimately what they wanted to begin with. And then so they've done the Priority Climate Action Plan, and now they're working on the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. It has all of these goals, and one of the more impressive ones, of course, is the Comprehensive Greenhouse Gas Inventory, because they're doing one for each of the cities very specifically. So the last time that the Climate Action Plan that Indio has was adopted in 2019. And as far as greenhouse gas inventories, we did one in 2010 and 2016. So being able to upgrade or update these documents is going to be a big plus for us, for all the cities really. And we actually have one of the more newer greenhouse gas updates and climate action plans. And it should be done around next year, sometime in 2025. We've been giving them our input and our data as far as how much gas is used in the city and as far as energy as well. So they're putting that together now. There's two forms of input that they're looking for. The first one was input from the cities. So this is our last meeting. We do a check-in every month. But at our last meeting, what they asked us for was, what do you as cities want, or what kind of options do you want for doing remediation for greenhouse gases? And we sent in our options, or our answers, all the cities did. And I just wanted to share with you some of the results with that. I will tell you that I was pretty heavy-handed with the check marks of what we might be able to do because this is very preliminary. I didn't really want to exclude a whole lot, and it's not necessarily the actions that we would take, but I wanted to keep them on the table. So you're going to see a lot of check marks for Indio, but you might be interested in seeing what other cities had also considered as well. So these were their building energy efficiency. These were the answers from each of the cities. Again, I think that energy, clean energy especially, even just energy efficiency is really important. It's easy to do energy efficiency and it's not necessarily super expensive, so I did a lot of check marks on those. Waste measures, of course, because we are doing a lot of waste work here at the commission with the True Zero Waste consultants coming on. Ag was not very popular with any of the cities. It was actually one of the only ones that had no one checked on some of the options. Some of them, a lot of the cities don't have any ag in their area anyway, and most of it is outside of our jurisdictions. Everybody wanted trees. That's going to be something moving forward I think we're going to see a lot of. And of course, water and wastewater. And I did hit these as well because Indio does have, although we're not part of it, well, we are part of the water. We do have the water IWA, but we also have the wastewater valley sanitary within our borders as well. On-road transportation, the only other thing that really got no check marks were express lanes on the freeways. I move pretty freely across the valley every day to go to work and back, and for the most part, if there's not an accident, things don't get backed up too far. So I don't know that express lanes would really be, at this point, something the valley needs. I guess a lot of people thought that. And then, again, some other measures that everyone was looking at as well. Transportation measures, the idling, I didn't check these. I don't think that we have an idling ordinance in the works at this time. And then the next thing there were two forms of input that we've been working on. One was the cities, so we just went through that. The other is that they're looking for community engagement as well. So for this, they do have a survey that's going up on the city websites. It's on a lot of them now, and we're going to be putting it up on the Indio website. I will let you know when that's there. I'd be happy if you all would log in or go to the website and take it. And then we're going to push this out, of course, to all of our residents to try and get everyone to look at what kinds of things that the community is actually interested in for greenhouse gas remediation as well. And that's all I have for the update for the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan that CVAG is doing. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions?
I do have questions, but others can go ahead first. Commissioner Getko.
Maybe I missed it. Is there a time frame that they are looking at trying to get this completed, or?
They want to have it completed next year. That's when the 2025, I don't know the exact month, but it is scheduled to go into 2025.
Okay.
And at this point, the survey does not have a cutoff date, so I know they're not looking at anything anytime soon as far as we have to get this completed. I mean, we're still trying to get the survey up on the Indio website, so once that's done, we'll have some time. There hasn't been an official cutoff date yet.
And on our website, is it going to be positioned like on the front opening page when you look up City of Indio, do you think? Is it going to be kind of easy to see or find?
I cannot say for sure. I'm gonna, hopefully it will be, I'm sure it'll be easy to find. I mean, we're not gonna put it on there and not make it easily accessible. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it'll necessarily be on the landing page. I'll have to work with the marketing director a little bit on that, but you'll be able to find it.
And I don't, perhaps we can let the council people know that this is available for their constituents, and some of the folks do give talks at HOAs, things like that. They can maybe bring this topic up and say, hey, if you want to take the survey, it's available, blah, 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 you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
The survey, obviously we have it. What will come of the survey and who was given it or who will be given it?
Ultimately, CVAG hired a consultants that are working on this who created the survey. They've done this in many cities and associations of governments. And so they'll compile the information once it's all taken in, and then they'll present the results to us, and then it will be incorporated into the comprehensive climate action plan.
And is there a pool of certain people that were asked these questions besides us? Or do they have a target audience that they're asking the survey of?
No, not at all. They really want to hear from as many people who are within the jurisdictions that they're representing with this CCAP.
Thank you.
All right, my questions go to, if you could flip back to the slide that goes over the overall process where it's in blue, it has greenhouse gas inventory first, and then it looks like LIDAR, which is leak detection or something. Yeah, LIDAC.
Oh,
Okay,
this
that
one?
one. You were there?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this one here. So this is the process overall, right? So just to step through this, if you don't mind, a little bit.
Yeah, these
So-
are the requirements to do a CCAP so they have to do all of these things.
Okay, so we go with the inventory. We quantify the reduction measures, review of authority to implement. What does that mean?
Like, for instance, the express lanes on the freeway.
Okay.
That would be maybe Caltrans. It certainly would
Okay,
not be, say,
within-
the cities. So when you look at
Okay.
authority, it's who could actually implement these things.
Okay, and then look at the projection, the benefit analysis, funding, the reduction targets, economy-wide near-term, long-term reduction targets set by each jurisdiction. So is that gonna be dependent on costs? Like how much money each city has? Is that how it works?
The
The GHG reduction target, like who's gonna decide whether we go 20%, 50%?
that would be, I'm gonna try and represent this. This is definitely a more of a CVAG question for
Okay.
the details of this.
Okay,
But those are gonna be the goals, right? And whether we meet them or not, I mean, we're gonna make the targets. It's just a matter, it's just a matter of whether we can meet them, and how we're gonna do that is hopefully gonna be more, is gonna be represented in this plan when it's done,
right,
but funding will certainly play a part in it.
okay. And another thing related to our zero waste effort, which is scope 3, are they doing all scopes in this one, direct, indirect, and so scope 3 emissions as well for this inventory, do you know?
I do not know, but
Yeah.
I can ask.
Yeah, so scope 1 would be, just for the benefit of everyone here, scope 1 would include the emissions that the city generates, like from boilers or any of our stationary sources, and then scope 2 would be from power purchases, and then scope 3 is things that we buy where the emissions are somewhere else, travel. The waste would be scope 3 as well. So the waste that we generate here and we send to the landfill as a city, that's gonna be scope 3. So our efforts surrounding zero waste are gonna hit the scope 3 category. And a lot of times, industry and, folks who are doing greenhouse gas inventories, because scope 3 is so broad, it relates to, well, I got a pack of strawberries from the farm here, that's, a few CO2 emissions to get here, whereas I got a pack of strawberries imported from France, and it flew here. It's a lot of greenhouse gas to get that bag of strawberries. So that's your scope 3 emissions. That makes a difference between whether you import things or go to the local, farm to get your supplies. And of course our waste that we generate and send off to the landfill, that's scope 3. So if they're not doing scope 3, which scope 3 is really, really, really hard, because it's every, you look at the capital expenditure of the city, and so the cheap way to do that calculation is some people just look at what your capital expenditure is and multiply it by a factor, and then they say, okay, what you buy every bottle of shampoo, every whatever, that's you just, because it's just too difficult to calculate. So they can do that, and some people just say it's too difficult, forget it. I'm only going to worry about my direct emissions, being my cars, my trucks, my, whatever I own, and what I buy in power. Whether I buy renewable power, that's a scope 2 stuff. I'm only going to do scopes 1 and 2. So it would be good to know, since we are working on zero waste, if each city has the flexibility to do scope 1, 2, and 3, or if everybody is going to do all of the cities, each of the cities I'm speaking of, all of that good 9, 10 cities, are they going to do scopes 1, 2, and 3, or do we as Indio get to choose how deep we want to go into that inventory? So I guess whenever you give us another update, you can let us know. Maybe they're not there yet. I don't know if that discussion has occurred.
I don't have an answer for that now, but I can bring that up to them.
Yeah,
I
sure.
can ask them about, which scope 1, 2, or 3 that they're going to intentionally do, and then if like the zero waste program would be something that would eventually could be factored into that, and
Right.
how.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would help us, but I guess we can take credit for zero waste even if they don't want to measure it as part of this program.
No,
It's
I
up
mean,
to
waste is on there as one of
them.
their.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
so
So
they-
then they have to be doing scope 3 by virtue, probably. Oh, we don't know for sure. We'll find out. Okay.
I can't directly answer that, but I
For
can tell
sure.
you that waste is on there,
That's
not
right.
only on the remediation plans that we were check marking, or ideas that we check marked as options, but also on their flyer is one of the main things that they wanted to focus on.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Well, it's really, really good to see that this is happening, because it's just
Yes, it's going to be
heavy
great to
lift.
update these.
It's a heavy lift. So, thank you.
I have another question.
Sure.
On the survey itself, is on our website, is that going to be like a link that they can go to? And then where is that, when they complete the survey, does that go to the city? Does that go to this organization
It'll go
here?
to the consultants because it is a link, and you'll fill it out. You'll follow the link through, and then you'll do the survey. We did ask if we could get paper surveys because we do have a booth out there at Food Truck Fridays and things like that. And they were a little reluctant to do that. They really just wanted to give us a QR code, and they were willing to do that. So we do have that, so that if you go there, you can use your phone and then
Right.
take the survey, but it's an electronic link.
And do you know if we have anybody here in the city that has connections with all the HOAs in the city of Indio? Each HOA usually has either a monthly or we have a weekly broadcast in my HOA. So I could provide the link information and they can put it on their website or their e-blast, and then we can get more participation. And we've got a number of big, large HOAs. We got Heritage Palms, we got Shadow Hills, Terra Lago, Four Seasons Terra Lago, and there's some other ones too. I don't know if there's anybody in the city that ever communicates with the management companies when they want to have like awareness campaigns or, things like this. You have any idea who might have any information on that?
I have a connection to some of them, but certainly not all of them, but I would think that our marketing director would, and that would be, I'll talk to her about that and see if that's something that maybe if she has the information, if we can send that out to them as well.
Okay. And then the link, once we get it, we can I can get the QRC codes from you, right?
Yes.
And then we can have that at our HOA, and people can go ahead and take the survey that way.
Sure.
I'm just trying to think of other ways to get more feedback from the community.
Yes,
That's what
and
we're-
I agree, and that's one of the things that I'm not going to go through the results because they're so preliminary that, you know, we really just we don't have enough surveys in, certainly not from Indio especially, so
Okay.
we need to get that out there.
Very good.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. Sustainability plan and work plan update, please.
Okay, the first thing for the sustainability plan, it looks like if we do the the study session with City Council, that will probably happen around March 2025. It's a few months away. But I do want to talk just very quickly, at least go over some ideas of what exactly all of you want to get from the study session. There's just certain things I want to make sure that when we do this, it checks all the things that you're asking for. I think that this helps us with a time frame for the sustainability plan, because certainly we're going to want feedback on the draft plan. So hopefully, well, not hopefully, March is going to be the time where we should have a pretty solid draft to give to, or at least show the City Council and get some feedback on that. General direction for sure, but I just, is there anything else while we have an opportunity to work with the City Council directly that you might want to make sure that I have on the agenda, or that we bring up, or that we are prepared to talk and ask about?
My comment and, my overall take, I don't think Commissioner Chris was here when we came up with this notion of the study session. Were you here, Commissioner Chris?
I was.
You were? Okay, yes. And so kind of going back to the roots of it, I was at this Healthy Desert concert, and I was, not concert, it was a conference. I need to go to a concert, but it was a conference. And Council Member Ortiz was, talking about the initiatives. He gave a presentation on Indio's sustainability activities. Palm Springs presented theirs, Coachella presented theirs, and just blew us out of the water. Not that I'm competing or anything, but and even we did have a call in from one member of the public who felt he was sort of disappointed in, I don't know who the person was, disappointed in our progress on sustainability. And I think in part it's from lack of visibility of what we're doing. So even if we do 500 things and nobody knows about them, whether it's the City Council or the residents, that to me is not good. So I think one of the things that I hope to gain from this is, and maybe either the marketing people or the communications people, we have a discussion with them first and come up with some solutions, is how do we better communicate to both the residents and the City Council what we're doing? Because I just had the sense that they're just, the City Council sees a plan one time every couple of years or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But I just didn't sense that it was a living document on their perspective. And there also seemed to be a little bit of confusion, or maybe it's a difference of an opinion on how we're flowing information on what we're doing to the City Council. So one thought that I heard was that each of us as a commission members or sustainability commission members are talking to the city council person for the district that we are representing and flowing information to them. And I have to say, I will confess, I am not. So there might be a difference there might be a little bit of a disconnect, but I really think that there is not a flow of information, or there might be different opinions on how what we do is flowing to city council. Because I heard something else. I don't know if the other commissioners are updating the city council members in your district, but I am not. So maybe bad on me. Maybe I'm the person who's off.
This is good. I can take all of this back, and because that's important information for when we do this.
Oh, I think that's a great idea, and yeah, I don't think, and again, I realize our council people have a lot of things going on, but you know, we should probably give them at least a quarterly report, touch base with them, maybe meet with them, and just, you know, let them know what we're doing, what we're up to. Because I mean, I know they can go online and watch our meetings, but who's kind of want to do that? I mean, honestly,
We said they're very interesting. They're riveting TV.
they're about an hour, right? But no, I think better dialogue with our council representatives is a great idea. I think we should all probably strive to do that, and maybe on a regular basis. And that could be another topic that we can talk about once we have our working session with the council. But I agree. I think we could be doing a better job of updating them and getting their feedback. If they have anything for us to look at further.
Right, right.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think is your suggestion, let me just understand you if I can, that we do that update quarterly as a group, or district commissioner to district city council
No,
person?
to your own district representative.
Is that, and Commissioner Chris, is that your thought as well as to how that should work?
You know, I think it varies per district, per representative, on what their schedule looks like, how they want to receive the information. I think it might vary. I don't have a set answer for that. I know for me, I have, like you, have not made a regular session of reporting back our progress or what we've been working on, but I make myself available. You know, I have the privilege of being able to serve with, you know, Councilman Miller in different areas of the city, like Rotary and different things where I see him regularly. So we're able to catch up,
Okay,
but in a very informal way.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we should probably put that on the agenda discussion going forward. And the reason why I say it's important is because all leaders, whether they're city, state, my goodness, it's even in the election, dare I say that word and start a fire in here, but
Why would you do that?
but everybody now, when they speak publicly, if they're an official, they are expected to be somewhat cognizant of sustainability issues. It was even interesting, Indio, I really have to give kudos to the city. Commissioner Getka and I were at the State of the City address, and City Council, Lupe Ramos.
Yes.
Many of the initiatives that she spoke about, and you know, the crowd, you know, it was like a rock concert there almost. It was, you know, were sustainability related. So if the folks at the fore who are talking to all the public, if they're not talking about what we're doing and they have no clue what they're doing, and they're supposed to be, even though their title is city council, when they speak, they're sort of expected in these times to be knowledgeable of what's going on. Yet, you know, I have not been, there's just like zero connection. So let's fix that. And also for, so one is with the city council, and then one is with the fixing or improving the connection with the resident. And that is gonna be up to the city's marketing people, to create that social media content. That's the only way I see of going about that, so you can get that information out, where it's accessible to folks as to what we're doing. Apart from the communication aspect, which is the part that, to me, that needs the most done, to it, if we do nothing else, let's at least fix that, because we can't afford not to. It's not that time, you know, you're not expected to, like, not be knowing what's going on. We have to fix that. But apart from that, I can't really comment on the content of the work plan, because we really haven't even started developing it. So my understanding is when we actually dig into this and start putting action items on there, then I'll know what to comment on. But what to do, who to do, you know, we haven't even opened it yet to start adding anything to it or to start updating it. So you have given us a schedule now, Sarah, of March that would give us how many meetings to get a draft done? How many meetings would we have, please? Okay, that's quick. So we have November. Will we have a meeting in December?
No.
So we have November,
January, February.
February, okay.
And March is it's not a set, it's not on the
Sure.
paperwork yet, but that's the
goal.
The
yeah.
best thing, okay, so 3 meetings is not a lot to fill this in. So we know our milestone, we'll try and get that to that target, so, it's up to, I guess it's up to us how we get there, so that's the next question, so that's my 50 cents worth. Yeah.
The other thing that I would like to see, I think, moving forward too, next year, we usually have the utility companies come in here, you know, give a presentation month by month. But I'd like to see more communications with our utility neighbors or our constituents, because they're the ones that push through a lot of their own sustainability programs on their own websites or direct mailings with the buildings, things like that. But I'd like to see if we could do like a quarterly meeting with these companies and just have them come in for 15 minutes, just give us updates if they're able or allowed, you know, if they're willing to do that. Just to keep their programs and, you know, some awareness and visible to us and the public. You know, so like every 3 months, maybe have IID come in, and Coachella Valley Water District, and maybe Valley Sanitary. You know, those type of utility companies come in and just kind of give us updates, because they're always working on programs too. And again, unless you go on specifically on their websites, which a lot of the public doesn't have time to do that or they don't pursue it, it's just a nice to keep some communications flowing with more updates instead of just one presentation a year or something like that. That's something I would like to see, but I don't know if that's realistic or not. But
I'll look into it.
and then, you know, when we do have that March meeting, is that going to be? Are we looking at, if we do it, is that going to be during a council meeting type thing, or during our meeting, or how would that work?
They usually take place about an hour before the actual meeting. So there's a study session at, say, 4, and then we're done, and then the regular meeting would start at its normal time at 5.
Because I think
Their regular meeting, there's, just before the city council meeting, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think, too, it might be helpful for the utility companies to come in periodically at their council meetings and give a small presentation on what they're doing, what their sustainability plan is for the year, things like that, just to create more awareness. because again, the council have so many things going on with the city. It's easy to get distracted, and if nobody steps forward and gives updates from the utility companies, I know they're involved with, Indio Water Authority, obviously, but the other ones, it might be helpful for them too to learn a little more. Just an idea, whether they're open to that or not, because I know they're extremely busy.
Great input. Staff items.
I did want to go through some of the sustainability plan, because I did get quite a bit of feedback from the last meeting. So I wanted to start, I did start some of the updates. I know we talked about that the sustainability goals under sustainable cities for the UN Sustainable Development Goals did have cultural and historic resources. And in the last meeting, we determined that we should take that kind of wording out, that it really doesn't fall under our jurisdiction. So that would really only come to play in the mission statement. This is the original mission statement from 2015. So what I thought was that we would pull that wording out of the mission statement. Other than that, I think it remains the same. I know that Commissioner Jimenez did ask me to make sure that there was nothing in this statement that if we took something out or changed it would affect, say, grants or something that we're looking at, and it never has. So I think that we can keep the mission statement to whatever you are comfortable with. And I understand from the last meeting that wording would be removed, if that's okay with all of you.
I don't really recall that. What was the logic behind that?
We were going through the UN
Right.
sustainability goals,
Yep,
and
yep.
under the sustainable cities, one of the action items was preserving basically cultural and historic resources, almost literally. And I may have heard wrong. I understood that was something that we were going to take out because there's an arts commission that's done under other commissions.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that particular comment. Now, what I thought that we agreed to do is that not only on that, but some of the other things like, so there might be some other things that other districts, or not other districts, other commissions or departments are doing, and we would put, rather than omit it entirely or try to have us accomplish everything, this document would be a link to that. So we wouldn't be silent on it. We would I don't remember that this was we spoke about a specific place to remove it. What we said, what I remember us saying, was that where the action was not, whether it's this or something else, where the action was not our primary responsibility, or there was some other group managing it 24/7, we would point to that, so that this document wouldn't appear to have forgotten it altogether, but it's just being managed elsewhere. Because the conversation with that, there is an arts commission that there's nobody that's going to be around. They should be able to pick up the document and see that in a footnote, a back note, appendix, somewhere in a note, because they won't have the benefit of this real-time conversation. So that's what we talked about, whether it's this or something.
Right. I understand. I understand what you're saying, and I think except for omitting this from the mission statement, I did understand that, and I think
that was a general thought.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll leave that because that's fine. It's not going to change anything if
Okay.
It's been that way for a long time. If you're okay with that wording, then I'm perfectly happy to leave it in. I added a couple sections. We wanted to start with why cities. I think that might be important. A lot of people still think this kind of work needs to be done on a larger scale, but cities are integral as far as making any sustainability efforts, especially when you're talking about greenhouse gases, because they can affect so much greenhouse gas emissions directly. So I'm working on building that out on why cities. And then the survey information I'll add here.
Is this a PDF that we're looking at right now?
No, it's a Word document.
Because there was an error up on page 1,
Oh, yeah, like here?
that percent, just a little.
Yeah, so it's not done for sure. This is pretty broken up and I need to, like I have cited it here, but it's not in the back. It's just, this is the work in progress. So this has to be built out a little bit more, a couple more sentences, and of course, done more correctly. And then the survey information here. So we'll add that. I added the Coachella Valley Association of Governments because that's part of our actual work plan with the CCAP, the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, and the work with ADJOURN, the Inland Regional Energy Network. So I added them in there. We talked about making sure that the local risks actually aligned with our local hazardous mitigation plan. So at the last city council meeting, the local hazard mitigation plan was approved. It was done through our Emergency Operations Center, and it is FEMA approved. So I took a lot of the older language from the plan out and added or put in the language ultimately from the FEMA approved, city council approved local hazard mitigation plan. So we have heat from the plan that's very much from the local hazardous mitigation plan. I changed water to drought because I think that's what Commissioner Jimenez had asked, that drought be added under water resources. And so I just put drought and then flood from the hazardous mitigation plan as well. The rest of it is pretty normal. I added in the actual UN Sustainable Development Goals so that you could see everything. Because the U.S. commissioners had talked about so many topics that I felt like, to really have to keep a kind of a not of a focus, but as you said, to memorialize all the things, even if they're not under this commission, all the things that we did talk about, that they all at least fall under one of these goals. It's already an established matrix, so I did add it into the plan just as a reference. And then we'll put in the resiliency and mitigation. I believe that was asked to be added as one of the goals. So then for part of the work plan, we're going to be working in 2025 with the ADJOURN and the CCAP. We already know that. I'm going to build out a lot more, or a little bit more, of some of the accomplishments that we've done. I've asked IWA to really highlight something that they feel is important as far as sustainability that they've done, so we can add, instead of just a list of this is what we've done, actually highlight a little bit more. So we're going to highlight the Buy Local campaign, the project, and also an IWA project, and one other one that to really draw out, or as you said, communicate some of the things that we have accomplished. We have our zero waste going on. We'll have that as part of our work plan, and the sustainability collection events will also continue. IWA, we're working on that with them. As I said, we're going to go ahead and highlight one of their projects. We'll have numbers for the bike lanes that were created in 2024. We talked about adding that tree ordinance. I'm still going to see if we can get approval to do that. Then we'll have that on our plan. We'll look at that as well. And then build out the resiliency and mitigation. Right now, our outreach plan is a different table, and I think I'm going to bring this all together into one work plan. I think that'll be easier to keep together. But as you said, outreach was probably, if we do the one thing, it's probably outreach. It's one of the least completed things that we've done, and we've talked about them for quite some time. So I want to make sure that we work on those sustainability pages, that this is going to be a good part of our work plan, is really going to be outreach. I did want to let you know that EcoHero will be back in the schools this year, but they're also going to create a custom Indio anti-litter comic book for us. So as soon as I get some drafts on that, I'll bring them to the commission for your input on those as well. Here are the things that we don't have. Like, I don't have those in the necessarily the work plan table, but I do have these here. I'm not sure as far as actually putting them on the work plan this year, whether we'll move forward with those or not. Some of them I need more approvals for. And then the last is the regular work plan. This is not including the outreach of the things that we're kind of that we're still going to continue in 2025. Learning about renewable energy, I mean, that's just something that's always going to be on there. The increase in the EV charging stations, we're still waiting on answers from some of the grants that we've submitted, and we're going to be possibly looking at the tree ordinance. The outreach plan, developing and continuing that is going to be a constant. Our sustainability collection events, the zero waste for the commercial sector, water conservation, Indio Lindo, and we did get the energy efficiency conservation block grant that is going to, they're going to look at the corporate yard and see what it's going to take for us to actually fuel a clean fleet. Like, what are we going to need at the corporate yard if we're going to have to fuel an entirely clean fleet.
Who is that from, Sarah?
I want to say it's the DOE, the Department of Energy.
Okay.
So that's in the works right now as well. So that's what we have, some of the changes that I made from the last meeting. I mean, clearly it still needs to be worked on. It is a pretty hefty work plan, I think. But this year I do plan to focus as much as I can more on outreach, because that has been something that's been lacking, and we've heard that from input from residents, and we know that, as you've said many times, communication and outreach is where we really need to put some effort. So those are the updates so far.
Okay, I should apologize to you. We kind of hijacked your presentation there as I moved on to staff comments. I forgot you didn't go yet, so I apologize.
No worries.
Any comments on the plan and work plan?
Right. One question is, so what your thought is, what I think I'm reading into that is, you're thinking that in terms of outreach, we would develop the plan and then get do public outreach after we, kind of sign and seal the plan? Or would we do that as part of developing the plan, updating the plan?
We would do that as part of updating the plan. I want to keep it all together, but we do have things that we already know that that we can start on. And like, for instance, building out some ideas for the web pages and adding information to them.
Right.
That we can already begin on, because that's been a lot of the outreach goals have been on the plan previously. They just need to a little more time to get done, and it's going to take a while, but again, we do want to kind of consider this. I believe we talked about last time as more of a multi-year plan.
Right. Because, I think my thought is, what would be nice is to do something similar to what the CVAG is doing on our climate plan, which is to do that same sort of a survey as we're developing the plan. How difficult would that be to do, and would it interfere with what CVAG is doing, or?
No, we have talked about doing the sustainability survey, and I have received feedback from all of you to go ahead and start putting that together.
Right.
What's going to happen with the timing is that we have to put the CVAG CCAP survey on the website first. So we're going to do that, but we should still have enough time, once that's been on the website for a while, to go ahead and add the sustainability plan next, and I hope to have results by March.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, I think there's, my remaining comment would be, I think those of us who were here provided sort of initial comments, and I don't know, I have to pose a question to the other commissioners, as we said, we have 3 more meetings where we have opportunities to provide input on this. Do we want to kind of set some sort of structure or schedule up to work through this, or to provide input? I don't know how we want to do this. Like, should we say, well, Commissioner, but based on our areas here, so for example, I would take waste and water section and focus on that. Commissioner Getka would focus on the components here in that plan, to see if he wants to add anything, and so on and so forth, or what are your thoughts? Or we just all just pick a date and everybody just comments on the whole thing? What are your thoughts, please?
Well, we each have picked different topics, so I think that would make logical sense if we each came up with our ideas regarding those specific topics that we're assigned with. We do have actually 2 vacancies, as far as nothing down as far as what their desired topics are. Commissioner Jimenez will have to decide on what she's kind of wanting to focus in on. And then hopefully we'll get a new replacement, and we'll have another person on the commission that can do some other topics. I mean, we can all interchange, but I think it makes sense to kind of focus on those specific areas that we're all assigned to, that we volunteered to be involved with. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we would certainly want to have looked at that plan. We don't have a copy right now. I know you just started to put ink to paper. But when do you think you might have something that we could actually read? Because we're definitely going to read this before we go into a working meeting. So when would be that time? Sarah, your thoughts?
I think after the November meeting. So I'll spend the next month really updating the things that I have in green right now, and finishing those out so that they're polished.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I think it might be a good time, like we can go over it again in the November meeting, and then I can send it out.
Okay.
I also think it's prudent to get a copy of the draft, and let's start working through it now, rather than have Sarah finish it and then have her go back and then change it.
Yeah.
This would probably be a good time to start looking through it and seeing what we have to add before she finishes it. That's a lot of work.
Done. Okay, I'll send it out. I mean, I'm going to clean it up just a little more, and then I will send it out.
I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah, I do. That works for me.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Staff items, Sarah.
There are no staff items tonight.
Well, that was short and sweet. Commissioner comments. Ladies first.
Okay, I'll go first this time. Waste and water. I actually don't have a lot. I know there was a Salton Sea forum on waste and water. I missed it. So I really don't have much to report, other than telling you that there was a recent forum on the Salton Sea. So, I'll go back and look at the information, and perhaps have an update in November if there's anything spectacular, like, a few $1 billion being awarded by the state to fix that issue. But I would ask Commissioner Getka in his update if he could expand a little bit on the water drought restrictions that he was mentioning before our official meeting. So That's my update. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I actually have no comments this evening. Vice Chair Gika?
Okay, thank you. Regarding the portable water and irrigation, I think I did give this information to Sarah to kind of look at internally and see where we're at with that. And I had some questions regarding if we're irrigating decorative grass or what they call ornamental grass areas, turf, are we using recycled water, or are we using portable water, potable water? What are we, how are we doing it? Because that's what this legislation actually refers to. And then it will affect the HOAs at some point too, by 2020 or 31. So there's some time on this, but I think it behooves everybody to start looking at what their plans are for xeriscaping, taking out the turf, putting either artificial turf in, or xeriscaping, more desert type landscaping, that type of thing. So I don't want to get too much into that right now. Maybe Sarah can give us an update next time around on that. But what I will talk about this evening is the tour I took. Could we get that on the screens? Is that coming? So, and I know this is water, but it does affect energy too, and there's a tie-in with that. And like I said, I am retired, so I do have a little more luxury to go on these tours, because I find that most of the people on these tours are senior citizens. I mean, other than the staff that work for these agencies, like Desert Water Agency. So they have 2 tours a year. I went on the October fall tour. I also went on the spring tour, which I gave a report back in June, I believe, this year. So last Wednesday, and then when you go and show up for the tour at their main office in Palm Springs, Desert Water Authority, they give you a little goodie bag, a visor thing, a sun guard for your car, which is kind of cool. I can use that in my vehicle. And then they give you some little trinkets and tchotchkes and a water bottle. They give you water, a little bag, and that type of thing. And they do give you this nice little tour guide. It's all color. It's like 4 or 5 pages of the whole tour. So you can always go back and kind of, or pass this to friends and they can look at it. Next slide. So our first stop, and this, we left the main office of Desert Water, and they take you on 2 different buses, and they're smaller buses. They're not the big charter bus, because they've got really sharp turns they have to encounter going up some of these roads. So this is the road up to Snow Creek and Snow Creek Village, and you can see, if you look at the slide, the first one, you can see the Highway 10 is about halfway up the picture. You can see the traffic flowing along there. So we're on the south side of Highway 10 as you're looking towards San Jacinto. And that road on the right, that's their private road. They own about, I don't know if it's about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles. And it is a private road owned by them. Nobody else is allowed up there. It is gated off with the special entry to that. Next slide. So this is the fall tour. We met at the main office on Autry Trail. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour tour, and you can choose an AM or a PM tour. I chose the PM tour because I didn't want to get up at 6 o'clock. And also, I didn't think it was going to be so warm, because it did get up in the 90s that afternoon. So I was hoping I should have went on the AM tour, but anyway. So you have those options. You have 2 AC tour buses that you go in, bus A and bus B. And then you can reserve your space ahead of time online. They usually only take around 35 attendees, and they usually have around 8 of their staff on hand as tour guides. They switch off depending on what you're looking at. Next slide. So they also have these nice informational billboards at each major stop. So this is Snow Creek. This is where they intake the water coming down from the snow pack and the rain that comes down San Jacinto on the, basically it's the north side. And you can see the water off to the right in that one picture. And they capture some of that water, and some of it they let go, flow on down further. But some of the water they do take to the side, and they take that for putting into their settling structure. Next slide. And this is their settling structure, which is basically a building that the water is diverted to, and it helps settle the water. It sits in there until the sediment kind of drops down at the bottom. All the suspended particles kind of by gravity fall down. And then from that, when the water is somewhat more settled, then they let it flow through the sluice gate. And when that happens, and you can see you could walk on top of that structure. That's where the second picture here, everybody walks up there. They talk about what goes on. Next slide. So you can see the water coming out of that, and then it goes down this, I think it's about a 36-inch or 40-inch pipe down to the next structure. And then you can go ahead, next slide. And this is their storage reservoir. Now the city, or the village of Snow Creek, is about 40 homes, and it's been there for a number of years. They actually had to build this structure just for that settlement because of the state regulations. And this is the reservoir that those 40 homes will use for their water, potable water. And they also, it's interesting, they painted the side that faces the highway tan, where you can see it visibly from the highway. The other backside they don't have to paint. They keep it white because it saves them money from the cost of the paint and maintenance. Next slide. So once the water goes from the intake, it goes down to the filtration plant and clarifier. The clarifier there basically helps push the water through these filters to remove the impurities. The filters, you can see, are large, very big cylinders. They're filled with sand, so the water filters through that. And then when it gets done with the sand filters, it goes through these carbon filters, which on the right slide, you see that green, those green kind of rounded containers. That's actually filled with carbon. And then that's the final filtering that they do through the carbon filters, which are replaced periodically. Next slide. So that water then goes down, and then it feeds down to the this village. It goes back up to the reservoir. They pipe it back up there, and then it goes on down to the Whitewater River, whatever they don't need. Now that reservoir that I was showing, that big tank, holds about I think it's about 1 million gallons of water up there. And keep in mind, it's only a 40-home area there, so it's only 40 homes that are drawing from that big reservoir. And then they take you across Highway 10. We're going north across the highway by Whitewater, where Whitewater Rock Company is. You take that highway and you're going north, and you come across their hydroelectric plant. And this was a joint funding project between DWA and Coachella Valley Water District. This was built back in 1986. And basically, this program here takes water that is issued to us from the California Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, and they allocate so much water to our area from the Colorado River Aqueduct. And so when they get the water that's allotted to us, it runs down from the aqueduct from the Colorado River through pipelines, aqueducts, and then into this hydro plant. And you can see on the slide on the right, the water will come in on the one side and then loops through this round cylinder, which is the turbine, turns the blades, and that generates the electricity. And then the water goes out through that tube in the front, out to the wash area. Next slide. And then the electricity that they generate here, they sell it back to Edison. So it is an economical project that they do get money and revenue back from using the water through a natural hydroelectric process. So that's the big hydroelectric generator there, and then that generator on the right side on the first slide there will take that power. It's a turbine, it's turning that, it's generating electricity. It goes to a substation from Edison and then out to their grid pattern. Next slide. And then that's the water that's after it's run through the turbine, it's flooding out to the side, and it goes down towards the Whitewater wash, and then it's also diverted over to some percolation ponds. Next. And then they took us up to Mission Creek groundwater replenishment, and that's a little farther north. This is up there by Desert Hot Springs, and this is they have basically 12 percolation ponds. So when this water comes into those ponds, it sits there and then percolates down to the lower aquifer. So they say that each pond percolates about 3 feet of water every day. And it takes, though, a number of years for that water to actually percolate into about 1,000 feet below, which is the main aquifer that feeds the whole Coachella Valley. And they do have 12 ponds there. They're about the size of 202 Olympic pools. So it's 99 million gallons of water. Now this doesn't always, that turbine does not always run year-round. It depends on how much water we're allocated from the Colorado River. So at times it's not running at all. But when we were here this past week, all the ponds had water in it. So they're all full. They're all percolating down to the lower aquifer. Next. Okay, so that was kind of the tour there, and it's just a FYI. Anybody can go to these tours. They offer 2 annual tours, April and October, and you can tour the valley water and the wastewater facilities, which is the spring tour, and then the one I just completed was the Snow Creek and Whitewater facility tour. You can register online at certain times of the year on dwa.org. Next, I think that's the end, correct? Okay. So, any questions on that? I would recommend that to anybody if you have a extra day off. Take that tour. It's really scenic. Both tours are very educational, and I'm also scheduled to go on some tours with Coachella Valley Water District. I have one coming up November 7th. It's a domestic water and stormwater tour, so I'll be going on that and giving a brief report on that. And then the Sustainable Water Supply Tour will be on December 5th. And again, these book up pretty fast. They've been booked up. So you have to kind of register as fast as you can on these. Again, I will go on those tours and give you a report back on those. It's just for myself, it's a great educational option, and you learn a lot about our local water and how they are managing it, and it all ties into our sustainability. So. That's it, folks.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, next Sustainability Commission meeting will be November 25th of 2024. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will move to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.